Give him the house. It's not like you need all that space. That's what my father said, loud and entitled, in front of 14 relatives at our family dinner table. But it wasn't just his words. It was the tone. Like my life was negotiable. Like my home, the one I broke myself to earn, was just a donation box for his golden boy's next phase of life. My name is Erica Monroe, and from wherever you're watching this, stay with me. Because have you ever been treated like a placeholder, useful until someone more deserving came along? It happened 2 weeks after my brother Andrew's wife gave birth to their second child. The whole family gathered for one of those forced, tension-heavy dinners that always feel like a performance. The air was thick with overcooked beef and undercooked respect. Everyone was laughing, toasting, talking about how beautiful Andrew's family was. Mom kept wiping invisible tears like she was at an awards ceremony. Then, out of nowhere, Dad put down his fork, tapped his glass, and said, "We've been thinking." That's when my stomach sank. I've known that phrase since childhood. It never ends well for me. You've done great for yourself, sweetheart. Big house, no kids. Lots of space. He paused, glancing at Andrew, then back at me. Your brother's family is growing. They need more room. And it just makes sense you've got that 4-bedroom place all to yourself. You're barely there. The whole table went still. Not out of shock, but out of expectation. Mom sipped her wine. My cousin fiddled with her bracelet. No one looked at me. Andrew was smirking like he already had the keys. And that's when I knew this wasn't a suggestion. It was an ambush. I smiled. Not because I was okay, but because I was raised not to show teeth when I bleed. You want me to give up my house? I said calmly. Because Andrew and his wife had another baby? Dad shrugged. Family sacrifices, Erica. It's not a big deal. You can stay with Aunt May, or find something smaller. You work remote, location doesn't matter. Mom chimed in softer. It's just a house, honey. You're not a mother. You wouldn't understand how cramped things feel with kids. And then Andrew, perfect, pompous Andrew, added with a chuckle. We'd take good care of it. Maybe even repaint that weird green wall of yours. Laughter. Actual laughter. Like this was all one big, hilarious idea. I looked at the faces around me, people I had paid bills for, helped out of debt, supported when they were down. Not one of them said, "This is wrong." Not one of them asked, "Are you okay?" I folded my napkin slowly, stood up, and said, "I'll think about it." They smiled. Pleased. Because that's how I survived them for so long, by pretending I was willing. But the truth? That night, something inside me snapped. I drove home in silence. Parked in the garage I built with my own hands. Sat in the hallway of the house they casually tried to claim. And I made a decision. I wasn't going to fight them with screaming or crying. I was going to respond with one quiet, strategic move, one they'd never see coming. And it would be the last time they ever mistook my silence for surrender. I wasn't surprised they tried to take my house. Because they've been taking from me my whole life, in smaller, quieter ways. I was born first. The responsible one. The mature one. The built-in babysitter, when Andrew was still wetting the bed. I was changing his diapers before I even hit double digits. While he got celebrated for tying his shoes, I was already expected to be the second mom. And when our real mom got sick during my teenage years, guess who handled her hospital runs, the insurance paperwork, the prescriptions? Not Dad. Not Andrew. Me. They used to say I was the rock of the family. But I've learned that's just code for the one we can dump everything on. When I got my scholarship to UCLA, Dad told me I was being selfish, that Andrew would feel abandoned. So I deferred for a year. Worked 2 jobs. Helped cover the mortgage when Dad's business hit a rough patch. Andrew? He was DJing house parties and crashing his car, twice, while still being called the hope of the family. By the time I finally left for college, I had 2 ulcers and a bank account so thin it squeaked. But I got through. I made it. Majored in finance. Took night classes. Graduated with honors. Landed a consulting job within a month. Meanwhile, Andrew got arrested for DUI twice. Spent a year unemployed, then married a girl he met at a bar because she grounded him. Spoiler, she didn't. But the family? They threw them a dream wedding, gave him a down payment for his first condo, toasted him like royalty. Me? When I bought my first house, I didn't even get a phone call. No, we're proud of you. No, you did it. Just mom texting. Make sure you don't overdecorate. It's tacky when single women try too hard. And now they were acting like my home was an extra sandwich I could hand over at dinner. But here's the part they forgot. I didn't build this life with them. I built it in spite of them. And the irony? The very house they want was purchased using a bonus I earned after closing a deal Andrew had failed to land at his own company. I bailed him out behind the scenes because Dad begged. Just this once, he said. He's trying, sweetheart. Be the bigger person. But being the bigger person doesn't mean shrinking yourself until you disappear. And that's what I'd done for too long. I had kept quiet when they called me too ambitious. Laughed it off when they joked I'd die alone with a spreadsheet. Swallowed the ache when they skipped my promotion dinner because Andrew's toddler had a mild fever. I had taken every slight, every insult, every backhanded compliment, and built my life like armor with it. But now, they were coming for the very roof that gave me peace. That house was more than wood and walls. It was the first space I ever felt free. And I'll be damned if I let them strip me of it like they did everything else. They had no idea what I was capable of when pushed. But they were about to find out. And this time, I wasn't playing the role of the quiet, helpful daughter anymore. It started with a text from my cousin Lena. Just 5 words. Did you say yes yet? I stared at it confused. Then I replied. Say yes to what? She sent a voice note back, whispering like she was scared someone might hear. Andrew told everyone you agreed. Aunt Celine said you're donating the house for the good of the family. Everyone's already talking like it's happening. My throat tightened. I hadn't even finished digesting the shock of the dinner ambush, and they were already spreading the lie that I'd agreed to hand over my home like some saintly big sister. It wasn't a misunderstanding. It was a setup. Later that night, I did what I should have done earlier. I checked the family group chat. I usually mute it, 67% recycled memes, 33% passive-aggressive digs. But when I scrolled back, I found it. 2 weeks before the dinner, Mom had sent a message. Let's make Andrew's transition as smooth as possible. Erica will do the right thing, she always does. We raised her well. Aunt Celine replied with a gif of someone clapping. Andrew added, she doesn't need all that space. It's time to step up. Step up? They were planning this before even asking me. Not just planning, counting on my compliance. I felt like I'd been shoved into a play where everyone had the script but me. That weekend, I ran into Uncle Mike at the grocery store. He smiled and said, heard you're giving your place to Andrew. About time someone showed some family spirit. And that's when I knew they'd already told the neighbors. This wasn't just a family dinner discussion. This was public narrative manipulation. I was being cast as the generous, childless auntie who made the noble sacrifice so the next generation could thrive. No one asked what I wanted. No one cared. They'd already decided what kind of story I belonged to. But they forgot something. I don't perform. I document. I save receipts, literal and emotional. And the more I listened, the more cracks I started seeing. Andrew had been unemployed for the last 4 months. Quietly. No one told me. The Lexus they gifted him? On a loan. In Dad's name. He missed 2 payments already. Their current condo? The lease was expiring. They were being evicted for unpaid rent. They didn't just want my house. They were depending on it. My place wasn't just a convenience, it was a lifeboat. And I was expected to drown quietly so they could float. That night, I pulled up every financial document I had. Cross-referenced family names. Remembered a conversation I had with our old tax advisor when I filed my own returns last year. Something didn't sit right. I requested a personal audit. And what I found next? It wasn't just emotional betrayal. It was financial theft. Thousands of dollars in deductions I never authorized. Loan activity under my name I never approved. All tied to one document. One forged power of attorney. signed in ink I never touched. And the name on that document? Dad's. He hadn't just tried to manipulate me emotionally. He'd already taken what he wanted, and now he wanted more. But he was about to learn that the woman he dismissed as just a spreadsheet junkie knew how to play the long game better than anyone. And this time, I wasn't going to warn him. I was going to teach him. I didn't scream. I didn't argue. I documented. When your own father forges your signature to open financial channels in your name, that's not just betrayal. That's fraud. The power of attorney form was dated 2 years ago. I was supposedly traveling at the time and couldn't be reached. My signature was clean, too clean. Like it was photocopied and traced. Which, by the way, it was. A quick call to my old bank manager, Lisa, who remembered me well, confirmed it. Yeah, that request came in from your dad's email. We called the number listed for confirmation, but it wasn't your number. She sounded shaken. Erica, I'm so sorry. You need to report this. I didn't say yes. Not yet. Because I wasn't just going to burn the bridge, I was going to let them walk across it first, thinking it was safe. I spent the next week preparing. First, I froze all my assets and accounts. Every joint authorization vanished. Then, I changed the title on my house to a trust, under a new entity name. If they try to come for it now, they'd be knocking on the wrong door. Literally. I updated my will, set up alerts for any movement on my credit, filed a quiet report to the local fraud division, flagged for investigation, but marked confidential for now. Then came the chess move I was most proud of. I contacted my friend Monica, a real estate attorney, and asked if she could do me a favor. Within 48 hours, she drafted a rental agreement. It listed Andrew and his wife as short-term guests. I had no intention of signing it, but I was going to show it to them. Why? Because if they believed I was caving, they'd expose themselves even more. And they did. When I reluctantly mentioned that I'd considered letting them move in for a trial period under a rental setup, Andrew rolled his eyes. Rental? Are you serious? Dad barked. After all we've done for you? I wanted to laugh, but I didn't. I just said, I'm not making any decisions yet. Let's discuss at dinner next week. And that dinner would be the Last Supper. Because what they didn't know was this. I had sent copies of the forged power of attorney, tax statements, and bank activity to my private investigator friend, who quietly launched a case file with timestamps, document trails, and email headers. Everything was in motion. The only thing left? Letting them believe they'd won. So I sat at my own kitchen table that Sunday, nodding as Dad mansplained property transfer logistics and Andrew loudly planned renovations like he already owned the place. I even made them coffee. Let them sit on my couch, smile in my home, and every time they said when instead of if, my spine grew straighter. Because this wasn't a negotiation anymore. This was a trap, and they'd already taken the bait. The day they thought I was handing over the house, I set the table with my mother's favorite china. I laid out everything like it was some sort of ceremonial transition, crisp documents in a neat folder, candles flickering like it was a sacred rite. I told them to come at 6. They arrived at 5:30. Andrew was all swagger, holding his baby girl like a trophy in one arm and dragging a duffel bag behind him with the other, already moved in his mind. Dad came in talking numbers. He thought this was an informal deal-closing dinner. Mom followed with a bottle of wine she bought for the celebration. It's not every day your son inherits something great, she said. She didn't even look at me when she said it. They sat. I poured drinks. I played along. Then I took out the folder. Before we move forward, I said softly, there's something you should see. I handed Dad the papers. At first, he didn't read them. He just waved them off like a waiter was offering him the wrong menu. Just skip to the transfer page. We can get this notarized tomorrow. I didn't smile. I just waited. Andrew peeked over his shoulder. His face scrunched. What's this? He mumbled. Dad finally focused. Then paused. His jaw clenched. His hand stiffened. Mom leaned over and said, What's the holdup? Dad read the line out loud, but his voice cracked. Report of suspected identity fraud. Forged authorization documents, subpoena pending. Andrew turned white. Wait, what is this? It's everything, I said calmly. Every lie, every dollar, every forged email, every unauthorized transaction under my name. Dad looked up, panicked. You're turning this into a legal issue? It already is a legal issue, I said. But you knew that when you signed my name, didn't you? The silence that followed was surgical. Andrew stammered. You can't do this. We're family. Exactly, I replied. And family shouldn't steal. I stood. You wanted to gut me in public? Now you'll get to explain to a courtroom how you justified it. Mom broke first. Erica, sweetie, come on. We can work this out. You already worked it out, I said, just not with me. You wrote a story, cast me in it, then got mad when I rewrote the ending. Dad stood up, trembling. You ungrateful. After all we did for you? Exactly. After everything you did, I learned from the best. I handed each of them a formal letter, a cease and desist for further contact, and a notification of legal investigation pending. Then I opened the front door. You have 10 minutes to leave this house. They didn't move, so I stepped aside. And just then my lawyer friend Monica walked in. Her presence was like a blade. You have 9, she said. Dad grabbed his coat. Andrew cursed under his breath. Mom didn't say anything, just watched me like she was seeing a ghost. But I wasn't dead. I was reborn. That night, I slept with my bedroom door open. For the first time in years, no part of the house felt haunted. Because the ghosts? They'd finally been evicted. It took less than 48 hours for the first cracks to show. On Monday morning, I got a call from Lisa, my former bank manager. Erica, she said cautiously, your father just came in. He tried to access one of your old accounts with a document claiming you authorized him. Again. But this time, security escorted him out. Then came the avalanche. I didn't need to lift a finger. The system they'd abused began closing in on them. The forged power of attorney was flagged by the fraud department. The IRS opened an inquiry into tax discrepancies spanning 3 years. The real estate board started looking into Andrew's sketchy financial history since he'd tried applying for a new mortgage under my credit rating. What they'd done wasn't just illegal. It was desperate. But here's the part no one talks about when you stand up to the people who raised you. They don't go down with silence. They go down swinging and smearing. I became the villain in their story. Within days, Mom sent a blast message to our extended relatives, saying I'd cut them off without mercy, that I was cold and forgot where I came from. I stayed quiet. But facts don't need defense. They just need daylight. And truth was pouring in fast. One by one, extended families started reaching out, asking what really happened. I didn't rant. I didn't beg for sympathy. I simply forwarded a single folder. Bank records, email chains, forged documents, and the audio recording of the dinner. Yes, I had it on tape. It spread like wildfire. Aunt Marcy called crying. Uncle Jerome apologized. Even my cousin Lena sent a message that just said, "They told us you were selfish. Turns out, you were just surviving." Meanwhile, Andrew's wife left him. She didn't even pack much, just took the baby, the Lexus keys, and left a sticky note on the fridge. Good luck inheriting that. Dad was forced to sell his tools to pay off some of the debt he'd tried hiding under my name. Mom was spotted at her old workplace, asking if they were still hiring. And for once, I felt nothing. Not glee. Not pity. Just closure. You see, they thought I was cold because I didn't cry at their table. But they never understood. My tears dried years ago, when I begged them to see me, and they blinked past me like I was furniture. I didn't destroy them. They destroyed themselves. All I did was stop carrying the debris. By the end of the month, they were ghosting everyone. Their phones rang unanswered. Their email auto-replied with "Please respect our privacy." Privacy? After they blasted my name in every chat thread from here to Arizona, now they wanted silence? They got it. Because the silence wasn't punishment. It was peace. And I was finally living in it, room by room, breath by breath, day by day. The house they tried to steal now felt like a temple. because for the first time in my life, I wasn't just surviving. I was free. I didn't renovate the house right away. I kept the dents in the hallway wall where Andrew slammed his bag in excitement the night he thought he was moving in. I left the crooked light switch he mocked once, saying, "You'll never fix anything without a man around." I kept it all, because it reminded me. I didn't rebuild my life to erase the past. I rebuilt it to outgrow it. 3 months after everything fell apart, I was sitting on my front porch, drinking coffee, when a car I didn't recognize pulled up. It was Aunt Marcy. She stepped out holding a small brown envelope. Her voice cracked. "I found this in my attic. Thought you should have it." Inside were photos of my mother, the woman I remembered before she became
Mom.
One photo stopped me cold. It was her holding a baby.
Me.
With the same porch behind her. Same light. Same sky. The caption on the back, in her handwriting, read, "For my Erica. May this home always know your name." That day, I finally cried. But they weren't the tears of a broken daughter. They were the tears of someone becoming whole. Because I realized something. I had inherited something far more powerful than real estate or money. I had inherited resilience. And I was done wasting it on people who mistook my kindness for consent. I went back to school, something I'd postponed for years. Earned a degree in financial forensics, because when your own family forges your signature, you learn to read between the numbers. I opened a small firm with Monica and Lisa. We called it Second Ledger, because sometimes your first story is written for you, and the second one? That's yours. We specialized in helping women untangle financial abuse. And our waiting list grew faster than I ever imagined. One day, a young woman walked into my office, soft-spoken, eyes downcast. She whispered, "My dad signed me into debt I didn't ask for." I thought I was crazy. I smiled. "You're not crazy. You're just not quiet anymore." My house became a home again. Not because I filled it with things, but because I no longer filled it with doubt. I grew herbs on the windowsill. Started painting again. Got a cat named Ledger who had no respect for furniture, but all the time in the world to curl up beside me when I worked late. And on the first anniversary of that dinner, I hosted a meal of my own. But this time, it wasn't for people who used me. It was for people who saw me. We toasted with mismatched glasses. Ate on folding chairs. Laughed until we cried. I didn't give a speech. But when someone asked why I looked so peaceful, I said, "Because peace isn't when nothing's wrong. It's when you finally stop waiting for people to love you the right way and start loving yourself in the only way that matters. Fully." That night, I closed the door, turned out the light, and stood in the quiet. No ghosts. No guilt. Just me. Still standing. Still whole. Still here. Exactly 1 year after that dinner, the one where my father stood over me, shouting that I owed my brother a home, I received a letter. Handwritten. No return address. Just one word across the front. Family. I opened it slowly. Inside was a short note. It read, "We've been thinking about everything. Maybe we handled things wrong. Maybe you could reconsider it for the kids? They miss their aunt. Let's start over. Please." There was no apology. No ownership. Just a familiar manipulation disguised as softness.
I didn't reply.
Instead, I walked to the fireplace I had rebuilt brick by brick, dropped the letter in, and watched it curl into ash. Some people don't deserve a second chance. Some people deserve distance and silence. A few days later, I heard that Andrew had moved into a cramped apartment across town. He'd taken up gig work. His wife filed for full custody. He wasn't handling it well. Dad had lost most of his connections. Turns out, forging your daughter's signature and misusing finances tends to stain your legacy, especially when court documents become public record. Mom was barely seen in town anymore. And yet, I didn't feel joy. I felt release. Because poetic justice isn't always loud. Sometimes it's quiet. A kitchen without yelling, a morning without fear, a dinner table set for people who actually care. That was my justice. One morning, while watering my herbs, I saw a moving truck pull up in front of my neighbor's house. A little girl stepped out, clinging to her mom's hand. She reminded me of me, quiet, watchful. I smiled and waved. The mother waved back. Later that day, I brought over banana bread, introduced myself, asked if they needed help settling in.
You don't have to, she said.
I know, I replied. That's why I'm doing it. Because I had spent a lifetime doing things out of guilt, obligation, shame. Now I did things out of choice, out of strength, out of knowing who I was and who I wasn't. And I wasn't a doormat, wasn't a wallet, wasn't a scapegoat. I was a woman who survived a storm made by the people who should have protected her and planted a garden in the aftermath. Some people build homes from concrete. I built mine from truth. And when I walk through the door now, I don't wonder if I'm welcome. Because I built this place. I wrote this life. And I didn't need anyone's permission to keep living it. They demanded everything: my name, my house, my loyalty. But they forgot one thing. I was never theirs to own. And now, I live in peace. Not in spite of what they did, but because I refuse to become them.